This is DD India. You're watching the Defense Dynamics, and I'm Danveer Singh from New Delhi. The terrorists have struck Kashmir Valley, a valley full of tourists, a valley of peace, valley of love, has now turned into a valley of grief. 26 tourists from all over India have been killed, have been massacred by Pak-supported terrorist group, the TRF. It was supposed to be a tranquil gateway. Baisaran Valley in Pahalgam, a picturesque meadow just 5 kilometers from the bustling tourist town. But on Tuesday, it witnessed horror. Eyewitnesses recount the chilling moments. 2 to 3 armed men stormed the valley, only accessible by foot. The survivors say the gunmen asked their names, likely to identify non-Muslims, before opening indiscriminate fire. At least 26 people lost their lives in this carnage, including tourists from Karnataka, Maharashtra, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. The victims, like Lieutenant Vinay Narwal, a young Indian naval officer from Karnal who had recently got married, was one of the victims. Another victim, Shubham Dwivedi from Kanpur, was on vacation with his wife. His cousin says the terrorists shot him after asking his name.
जो घटना में जिनको गोली लगी है वो शुभम द्विवेदी मेरे चचेरे भाई हैं। इस 17 तारीख को यहाँ से गए थे, करीबन 11 लोगों का एक ग्रुप था जो कश्मीर भ्रमण करने गए थे। तो वहाँ पर अलग अलग जगहें, सोनमर्ग और गुलमर्ग वगैरह, यहाँ सब घूमने गए थे। आज ये पहलगाम में थे, तो वहाँ पर शुभम भैया, उनकी अभी 12 फरवरी को ही शादी हुई है, तो वो और उनकी वाइफ घुड़सवारी करते हुए गए हुए थे ऊपर। वहाँ पर जानकारी हम लोग को ऐसे हुई कि भाभी ने फोन किया नीचे ताऊ जी को कि शुभम भैया को गोली मार दी है सर पर। ऐसा बताया जा रहा है कि नाम पूछने के बाद गोलीबारी वहां पर शुरू करी है और सर पे गोली मारी गई है।
Prashant Satpathy, an accounts officer from Odisha, also perished. His brother says family has no word yet on the fate of Prashant's wife and young son who were along with him.
तो फोन किया था, जो स्टोल में लिखा था, जो टोल फ्री नंबर जो लिखा था, उस नंबर को डायल किया। अभी तक वो बोले जे प्रशांत सत्पथी डेड हो गए। इतना ही। मेरा छोटा भाई ना, छोटा जो भाई का बीबी है, वो भतीजा है, वो कहाँ पर है, कैसे है, मेरे को पता नहीं। फोन तो नहीं लग रहा है अभी। तो अभी एडिशनल डीएसपी फोन किए थे मेरे को।
A video from the attack site has emerged showing devastating aftermath. The images are too graphic to be shown fully, but they reveal the scale and intent of this attack: targeted, premeditated, and brutal. Terror outfit TRF, the Resistance Front, has claimed responsibility. An offshoot of Pakistan-backed Lashkar-e-Taiba, the group has been active since 2019 after Article 370 was abrogated. Security forces, including the Indian Army, CRPF, and the J&K Police, launched a joint operation, expanding their combing radius to 5 kilometers from the attack site. Sniffer dogs, special forces, and advanced surveillance tools have been deployed. Baramulla saw yet another infiltration bid that was successfully foiled on Wednesday, wherein 2 terrorists were killed by the alert troops. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was in Saudi Arabia, cut short his visit and rushed back to New Delhi. He convened an emergency meeting at the airport with National Security Advisor Mr. Ajit Doval and top officials. Union Minister Mr. Amit Shah reached Srinagar, laid wreaths in homage and met families of the victims alongside the Lieutenant Governor Mr. Manoj Sinha. The centre has issued a nationwide alert. Delhi and Mumbai ramped up security, particularly at tourist hubs. Across Kashmir, locals condemned the bloodshed, candlelight vigils, were held in Baramulla, Poonch, Kupwara and Srinagar. People from Akhnur also protested, raising voice against violence that threatens peace and tourism in the valley. The world stands with India. US President Donald Trump called it deeply disturbing and reiterated full support. Russian President Vladimir Putin condemned it as brutal crime and backed India's fight against terror. Italy, Israel, the EU, and Saudi Arabia have expressed solidarity. European Union Chief Ursula von der Leyen said India's spirit is unbreakable. J.D. Vance, US Vice President visiting India, said country's beauty must not be overshadowed by hate. Over 2.35 crore tourists visited Jammu and Kashmir in 2024, a record-breaking numbers, a testament to peace returning. Big companies were eyeing investments, elections just wrapped up, but terror struck back to reverse the process. It was an attack not just on civilians but on the spirit of Kashmir, its tourism and its peace. And as the nation mourns this unthinkable loss, the message is clear. Terror will never triumph over peace. The memories of those lost will live on, and the resolve to protect every innocent life grows stronger.
आतंकवादियों द्वारा किए गए कायरतापूर्ण हमले में हमारे देश ने अनेक निर्दोष नागरिकों को खोया है। इस घोर अमानवीय कृत्य से हम सभी गहरे शोक और दर्द में हैं। सबसे पहले मैं उन सभी परिवारों के प्रति अपनी गहरी संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं जिन्होंने अपने प्रियजनों को खोया है। इस दुखद समय में दिवंगत आत्माओं की शांति के लिए मैं परमात्मा से प्रार्थना करता हूं। यहां मैं भारत के दृढ़ संकल्प को दोहराना चाहूंगा कि टेररिज्म के खिलाफ हमारी जीरो टॉलरेंस की पॉलिसी है। भारत का एक एक नागरिक इस कायरतापूर्ण हरकत के खिलाफ एकजुट है। मैं इस मंच से देशवासियों को आश्वस्त करता हूं, घटना के मद्देनजर भारत सरकार वो हर कदम उठाएगी जो जरूरी और उपयुक्त होगा। और हम सिर्फ उन लोगों तक नहीं पहुंचेंगे जिन्होंने इस घटना को अंजाम दिया है, हम उन तक भी पहुंचेंगे जिन्होंने पर्दे के पीछे बैठकर हिंदुस्तान की सरजमी पर ऐसी नापाक हरकतों की साजिशें रची हैं। भारत एक इतनी पुरानी सभ्यता और इतना बड़ा देश है जिसको ऐसे किसी भी आतंकी गतिविधियों से किसी भी सूरत में डराया नहीं जा सकता। ऐसी हरकतों का जिम्मेदार और इसके जिम्मेदार लोगों को आने वाले कुछ ही समय में जोरदार तरीके से नजर आएगा। मैं देशवासियों को आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं।
Today we are diving into a transformation story unlike any other. India's ambitious rise as a self-reliant global military power. And it's not just ambition, it's action. From warships to weapon systems, startups to strategic doctrines, India is rebuilding its defense architecture. And with it, its place in the world order. At a recent defense conclave in New Delhi, India's Defense Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, laid out a powerful vision. A vision where India isn't just protected, but prepared. Let's begin with what the Defense Minister of India said and why it matters. But first, the global defense headlines. British Army tests radio frequency directed energy weapons, neutralizes drone swarms in landmark sea UAV trial. In a major leap for counter-drone warfare, the British Army has successfully tested a radio frequency directed energy weapon, taking down entire swarms of UAVs in a single strike. Conducted during UK's largest ever sea UAV exercise, the trial saw over 100 drones tracked, targeted and neutralized. The cutting-edge system uses high-powered RF waves to disrupt enemy drone electronics, marking a significant milestone in next-gen battlefield technology. Saab defends grip and export standard after Trump comments affirm full-feature aircraft tailored for national needs. In a direct response to US President Donald Trump's comments on the F-47 NG-80 aircraft, Saab has clarified that all export versions of its Gripen fighter meet the full standard with all the options for the customer to tailor the aircraft to their specific needs. Saab emphasized that no dumbed-down versions are being offered, but with full transparency and flexibility they provide to ensure sovereign capabilities like communications, weapons, and electronic warfare, which are customized for each nation's requirements. Indian Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh laid out a compelling vision for a self-reliant and future-ready India at a defence conclave in New Delhi held on April 17 of 2025. With a clear focus on indigenization, innovation, and global leadership, he declared that India is not only securing its borders but also positioning itself as a key player in international defence ecosystem. He said that the day is not far when India will not only emerge as a developed country, but our military power will also emerge as number one in the world.
और आज भारत का डिफेंस सेक्टर जहां सेल्फ रिलायंस के रास्ते पर आगे बढ़ रहा है, वहीं ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन्स को भी रेजिलेंट बनाने में बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाने को तैयार है। हमारी डिफेंस कैपेबिलिटीज एक क्रेडिबल डेटरेंस की तरह है, जिसका उद्देश्य पीस एंड ट्रैंक्विलिटी बनाए रखना। हम यह भी जानते हैं कि यदि शांति को बनाए रखना है तो उसके लिए अपनी स्ट्रेंथ को लगातार बढ़ाते रहना यह भी बहुत आवश्यक है। और वह दिन दूर नहीं है भारत न सिर्फ एक डेवलप्ड कंट्री के रूप में सामने आएगा, बल्कि हमारी मिलिट्री पावर भी दुनिया की नंबर 1 मिलिट्री पावर बनकर उभरेगी। टारगेट यही है।
Picking up from what Mr. Rajnath Singh said at the conclave, let's decode what is India's strategic vision and how it will transform India as a global defense power. With a clear focus on indigenization, innovation, and global leadership, India is rewriting its defense story. This isn't just about buying less from abroad, it's about building more at home. From advanced missile systems to state-of-the-art drones and combat platforms, India is now developing cutting-edge technology that was once the exclusive domain of global powers. But it's not just what we are building, it's how we are building. Its public sector giants, private players, dynamic startups are all working together, creating an ecosystem that's not only strengthening our national security but also fueling economic growth and job creation. Innovation is at the heart of this movement, whether it's AI-driven surveillance, autonomous weapon systems, or next-generation battlefield solutions. Indian engineers and scientists are pushing boundaries, and impact is global. Our defense exports are rising, our partnerships are expanding, and India is increasingly being seen as a trusted, capable contributor to the international defense landscape. So yes, we are securing our borders like never before, but we are also doing something more. We are stepping onto the world stage not just as a buyer, but as a builder. Not just as a regional power, but as a serious player in the global defense ecosystem. In a strong statement at the Defence Conclave, Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh underlined a major shift in India's defence policy. He said the government's foremost challenge was to change the long-standing mindset that India would simply import to meet its military needs. Instead, he emphasized India is committed to reducing its dependency on imports and building a robust industrial complex, one that not only caters to country's own requirements but also boosts the potential for defense exports. India's defense minister further stated that as India marches ahead on the path of self-reliance, the domestic defense sector is now poised to play a critical role in making global supply chains more resilient. He added that Make in India program is not just driving the growth of indigenous defense production, it is also providing that India has the capacity and capability to support and stabilize international defense supply chain, making it both resilient and flexible. India is one of the top defense spenders in the world. Yet for decades, it has relied heavily on imports to arm its forces. Fighter jets, submarines, heavy artillery, even rifles, much of this has come from foreign partners, making India one of the largest arms importers globally. But that equation is starting to shift. In the past few years, India has launched a focused campaign to build a strong, self-reliant defense manufacturing base. And the results are beginning to show. The Tejas light combat aircraft, once a decades-long project, is now flying with the Indian Air Force. INS Vikrant, India's first indigenous aircraft carrier, is operational. Missile systems like the Akash and Astra have been developed in-house and deployed, and the Indo-Russian BrahMos missile is not only in use, it's now being exported. This marks a significant change from dependence to capability. Thus, under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, the government has brought in sweeping reforms. The defense acquisition procedure now puts India-made systems first. More than 500 military items, from radars to ammunition, have been put on a no-import list, creating space for domestic innovation. Once monolithic Ordnance Factory Board has been corporatized. The new defense corridors are coming up in Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh, and the private sector, long on the sidelines, is now in the game. Giants like L&T, Tata and Mahindra are building systems. Startups under the IDEX platform are working on drones, AI-powered surveillance and next-generation technologies. And exports, they have never been higher. India exported over 21,000 crore rupees worth of defense equipment last year. That's more than $2.6 billion, the highest in its history. From radars and artillery to BrahMos missiles, Indian-made systems are now heading to Southeast Asia, Africa and beyond. But make no mistakes, the road ahead is still long. India remains dependent on imports for critical technologies, jet engines, high-end radars, submarines and advanced electronics. Key indigenous projects continue to suffer delays, and foreign partners are often reluctant to offer core technologies, limiting how much India can learn or build on its own. Research and development funding remains modest, defense startups are still facing challenges in scaling, and the global competitiveness in both price and quality needs to improve if India is to be seen as a serious player in the global arms market. Still, the trajectory is clear. From licensed production to full-scale development, from imports to exports, India is steadily building a strong defense ecosystem that's more agile, more competitive, and more strategic. Because in today's world, self-reliance in defense isn't just about economics, it's about sovereignty, security, and strategic leverage. India may still be a work in progress, but it's one that's moving unmistakably towards power built at home. Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh emphasized that India's growing defense capabilities are not intended to provoke a conflict. He stated, "Our defense capabilities serve as a credible deterrence aimed at maintaining peace and tranquility. Peace is only possible when we remain strong." Mr. Rajnath Singh also highlighted the evolving nature of warfare, stressing that in the future conflicts and wars will become more violent, unpredictable, and he also pointed out that cyber and space domains are rapidly emerging as new battlefields, adding that there is also a growing war of narratives and perceptions being fought worldwide. To meet these challenges, the Defense Minister outlined that India's focus is on holistic capacity building, and continuous reforms. He further announced the Ministry of Defence has declared year 2025 as the year of reforms, thus underscoring the government's commitment to transform India's defence infrastructure. India's defence posture has never been about aggression. It has always been about assurance. Assurance that peace will be protected, sovereignty will be defended, and adversaries deterred. This is the heart of credible deterrence, the ability to prevent conflict not through provocation but through strength. For India, credible deterrence begins with its nuclear doctrine. The country maintains a policy of no first use, yet keeps a robust nuclear arsenal capable of inflicting unacceptable damage in retaliation. It's not about striking first, it's about ensuring that no one dares strike at all. But deterrence doesn't stop at nuclear. It extends across the entire spectrum of modern warfare. India's conventional forces have undergone a transformation, with aircrafts like the Rafale, warships like the INS Vikrant, and artillery systems like the K9 Vajra and the ATACMS. India now has the speed, range, and firepower to respond rapidly and decisively to any threat. India's missile defense shield is growing stronger. Systems like Akash, Barak 8, and S-400 are capable of intercepting enemy missiles before they even reach the Indian airspace. At the same time, the BrahMos missile stands ready, not just as a weapon, but as an export symbol of India's rising defense capabilities. In today's world, warfare is no longer just on land, sea, or air. India is preparing for tomorrow's battlefields. In cyberspace, in the electromagnetic spectrum, and in the outer space. Satellites track movements across borders. Cyber teams defend the digital front lines. Artificial intelligence, on the other hand, is being integrated into surveillance, reconnaissance, and even combat decision making. India's cold start doctrine, the ability to rapidly mobilize and strike with precision, gives it a credible edge in conventional deterrence, especially along its tense borders. Simultaneously, India is investing heavily in border infrastructure, joint theatre commands, and technology upgrades across its forces. But credible deterrence isn't built by the military alone. It is shaped by policy, industry, and partnership. India's defense acquisition procedure now prioritizes indigenous production. Strategic partnership with US, France, Russia, and Israel ensure access to advanced technologies. And with the rising exports from radars to BrahMos, India is becoming a defense supplier, not just a simple buyer. This multi-dimensional strength sends a clear signal. India seeks peace, not war, but peace on its own terms. Peace backed by preparedness and security guaranteed by its strength. Because in the world we live in, only those who are strong can truly stay at peace. And India's credible deterrence is its commitment to stability, to strength, and to silent power that keeps war at bay. India's defense sector is undergoing a major transformation, from historic reforms to bold indigenization targets and unprecedented surge in defense production and exports. Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh recently laid out the scale of change, calling it one of the biggest reforms of the century. Here is our special report. In a bold push towards self-reliance, India's defense sector is undergoing one of the most significant overhauls of the century. And at the heart of this transformation is the corporatization of country's over 200-year-old ordnance factories. A move Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh describes as bold, necessary, and historic. Once slow-moving and bureaucratic, these factories are now independent profit-making entities operating with efficiency, accountability and purpose. But structural reform is just one piece of the puzzle. India has launched an aggressive indigenization campaign, releasing 5 positive indigenization lists by the armed forces and 5 more by defense public sector undertakings. Together, they identify over 5,500 items from major weapon systems to the smallest components that will no longer be imported. These include critical platforms, strategically important subsystems, spares, and line replacement units, all of which are now slated for production within the country. To give this effort real momentum, the government has revised a massive 75% of the capital procurement budget for domestic companies, and the result is striking. In 2014, India's defense production stood at 40,000 crore rupees. Today, it has crossed rupees 1.27 lakh crore and is expected to surpass 1.6 lakh crore within a year. The vision of 2029, defense production worth rupees 3 lakh crores and all made in India. Meanwhile, India's defense exports have surged exponentially from just rupees 686 crores in 2013-14. They now stand at rupees 23,622 crores, with Indian-made defense products reaching nearly 100 countries across the globe. The government is targeting rupees 30,000 crores in export by the end of this fiscal year and 50,000 crores by year 2029, cementing India's status as a rising player in the global defense marketplace. Driving this momentum is a strong push for innovation, especially among young entrepreneurs and startups. The Innovations for Defense Excellence Initiative, or the IDEX, supports emerging companies with up to rupees 1.5 crore in funding. Building on its success, IDEX Prime now offers support of up to rupees 10 crores for advanced technologies. The newly launched Aditi scheme raises the bar even higher, with up to rupees 25 crore available for breakthrough innovations. So far, the Ministry of Defence has approved over rupees 2,400 crore worth of purchases from startups and MSMEs and green light projects worth another rupees 1,500 crore for technology development. Today, India's defence capabilities span the full spectrum, from strategic deterrence to frontline innovation. The country now competes with global power in missile technology with systems like Agni and BrahMos, in naval strength with INS Arihant and INS Vikrant, and in new domains such as artificial intelligence, drones, cyber defense, and hypersonic platforms. From restructured factories to futuristic warfare, India's defense sector is no longer just preparing for the next battle, it is building for the next century. Reform is no longer a policy, it's a movement. One powered by innovation, backed by industry, and guided by a vision to make India a global leader in defense manufacturing. However, challenges remain. One of the biggest is the manufacturing of indigenous jet engines. While progress has been made under Kaveri Engine Project, India is in active dialogue with international players like Safran, GE, and the Rolls-Royce to bridge this critical gap and bring jet engine production home. With this, we come to the end of this episode. See you next week with new stories and their analysis. Thanks for watching, and do post your comments on social media with #DD with Danvi. Goodbye and take care.